Shalom, shalom, Israel. Welcome again to Watchmen of the Faith Ministries. My name is Kasada Bar. Now, by this time now, everybody should have already completed the Passover. And there's a couple of brothers who ended their Feast of Unleavened Bread, which happens on the 15th day of the new moon cycle. Some brothers completed theirs, I heard, on a Wednesday. Some brothers completed their Feast of Unleavened Bread, this is now, on this past Thursday. And some of us are completing the Feast of Unleavened Bread tonight. Now, the most important thing that I find very interesting with this here now is that a lot of us are now beginning to understand at least Leviticus the 23rd chapter and understanding how important the feast days are. We have to really applaud ourselves for that. We're not all in one accord now on the exact count, which will come later on down the line through the Ruach HaKodesh, but we have to at least give ourselves credit for acknowledging the feast days. The feast days are very, very important. The feast days are the Most High's, is His planner. This is how every single thing is going to happen according to the feast days. Absolutely nothing is going to happen outside of the feast days. And again, I'm just really happy to see so many brothers and sisters acknowledging the feast days. And again, we're not all in one accord and doing it on the same day, but again, that'll come in time. Now, on with today's lesson. The title of today's show is called Sefirat Ha-Omer to Shavuot. Again, Sefirat Ha-Omer to Shavuot. I'm going to write the name of the show, or the title of the show, here on the board. Sefirat Sefirat, which means counting. The word ha means the. Omer, which is referring to the sheaf. To Shavuot. Okay, so I pray everybody is able to see that. Again, Sefirat, which means counting, the Omer to Shavuot. That's the title of today's show. Now, what I did now is I put together a brief introduction on the importance of Shavuot, with the understanding that all of the feast days, and the word feast days in Hebrew is Moedim Yom, okay, feast days, gives us an insight into the first and second coming of the Messiah, which is very important. The feast days explain the first and second coming of HaMashiach, Yahusha, under the orders, because even the Messiah has orders, under the orders of our Father, Yahuwah. One second here. So again, it is very important for us to understand or to recognize the feast days. And again, we're not all in one accord on how to do the count. And I truly believe through the Ruach HaKodesh, we will all come to an agreement one day in understanding the correct way on how to count to Shavuot, understanding Exodus or the book of Shemot, the 12th chapter, where it talks about the first month, the 10th day, the 14th day, the 15th day, from the 15th day to the 21st, and the importance of the 18th day, and starting our count to Shavuot. Now, again, the feast days gives us insight into the first and second coming of HaMashiach under the orders of our Father, Yahuwah. But Shavuot is one of those 7 set-apart convocations that get little to no respect, no recognition at all. And what we're going to do today, all right, is go through the instructions to Shavuot and give Shavuot, okay, its proper credit that it is definitely due. And what we're going to do now, we're going to go to the book of Leviticus, which is the book of Vayikra, the 23rd chapter. And I'm going to be reading from the 15th verse down to the 17th verse so that we can at least begin to understand the count to Shavuot. Okay, Leviticus, which is the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, the 15th verse. Now, again, all scriptures, okay, is alluding to the Messiah. Every single scripture, because it tells us in the book of Psalms, Telahim 40 and 7, that the Messiah, HaMashiach, is saying, "Lo, behold, I come in the volume of the book." So I want everybody to understand what I'm about to do here. And you shall count. What I first want to do now here is explain what's going on here now. We have the Father, we have the Son, and we have Moses here, or Moshiach here. And what's happening now is that orders are given from the Father to the Messiah, to Moses, to the nation of Israel. So it says, and you shall count. We're talking about Moshiach giving the counting instructions to the nation of Yashra'al, the nation of Israel. And you should count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat. This morrow after the Shabbat is talking about the weekly Shabbat, not the high Shabbat that happened on the 15th. Not then, the first day of unleavened bread. But we're talking about here the weekly Shabbat. We'll read it again. And you should count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat, from the day you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. So now, the morrow after the Shabbat is now the first day of the week. So we're waving the sheaf offering on the first day of the week. 7 Shabbats shall be completed. Now, we're going to do just a simple little math here. With that understanding, 7 times 7 is 49. All right? So what I'm going to do here again is read verse 15. And you should count. And the operative word there is the word count. And you should count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Shabbats shall be complete. And you get this, and again, 7 times 7, okay, it's 49. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Shabbat. So the morrow after the 7th Shabbat, because 7 times 7 is 49, and then it says, even unto the morrow after the 7th Shabbat, plus 1 gives us 50. Can you see that? 50 days. Let me write this down here. That gives us 50 days. Okay? And within those 50 days, you should have 7 Shabbats. Those are the instructions that Yahuwah the Father, okay, explained to Yahusha, who explained to Moshiach, who explained to the nation of Yashra'al how to count and how to observe Elohim's feast days. These are not the feasts of the Jews. These are the feasts of the appointments of Yahuwah, the Father himself. Okay, we'll be doing down to verse 17. I'm going to read 16 again. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Shabbat shall you number 50 days, and you shall offer a new meat offering unto Elohim. Let me erase this right quick. I want to make sure everybody has a clear understanding. And again, like I always say, if there's any questions regarding anything that I'm saying, the mathematical equation that I'm using, simply leave a message, and I'll try to clear it up as best as possible. Now again, like I said, all of this is alluding to the coming of the Messiah. The feast days, again, explains the first coming and the second coming of our Savior, Yahusha, under the orders of the Father, Yahuwah. Verse 17, and you shall bring out of your habitation or your dwellings, okay, 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They should be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits of Elohim. Now, what we have to understand here now is prophecy and how the scriptures are alluding to a bigger picture. We have the basic understanding of the scriptures, and then we have the in-depth meaning behind it so that we can understand the parables and the mysteries behind it. Now, first what we want to do is understand the word 2 wave loaves. Okay, we have 2 wave loaves. Two wave loaves. Hopefully everybody can see that. All right, 2 wave loaves. Now, what I want to do first, okay, is explain what the 2 wave loaves represent. The 2 wave loaves represents northern and southern kingdom. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The 2 wave loaves represent northern and southern kingdom. Now, when we read verse 17, it also talks about they should be baked with leaven. Leaven represents sin and transgression. Now, let's prove some of these things here. We want to go to 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. And we're going to be reading from verses 7. I'm going to start at verse 6. I'm going to read down to 8. Shaul is saying here, okay, your glorying is not good. Know you not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? So the leaven is representing sin. So your glorying is not good. Know you not that a little leaven, just a little leaven, leaveneth the whole lump? So our responsibility is now to get rid of all of the leaven that's in our lives. All of it. Because just a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. And we know what leaven does. Leaven rots. Okay, it rots. Verse 7. Now the instructions are, purge out therefore the old leaven. Purge out the sin, the malice, the hatred. Purge all those things out, that you may be a new lump. A new lump. Because that's the redemptive role of the Messiah that he did. And that's our responsibility as Israelites, is to remove the old leaven and become a new creature in the Messiah. So this is supposed to be our New Year resolution. All right? This is our New Year resolution, is that we're supposed to rehearse the righteous acts, purge out the old leaven, and this year walk a more perfect Messiah-like walk. That's our responsibility. But we must purge out the old leaven. We can't keep carrying leaven from last year, the year before that, the year before that, and the year before that, and still call yourself a Talmudim or a believer of Yahushua, when you're keeping all of this old leaven in. Because the leaven destroys. It would eventually kill you. We have to purge out the old leaven. Purge out therefore the old leaven, which is the sin, the lies, and the malice. Right, the sin, the lies, and the malice. That you may be a new lump as you are unleavened. So that's what happens now. When you take the leaven out of your life, you're now unleavened, and now we can now be that perfect bride to be represented to HaMashiach. That's the goal, is to be that perfect bride. In order to be that perfect bride, we can't have leaven, malice, hatred, bigotry, and all these other things in our lives. Because that is not the type of bride that Yahuwah and Yahusha is looking for. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that you may be a new lump as you are unleavened. For even the Messiah, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. So we understand now that Messiah took all of that out of the way. So if the Messiah was able to take away and do away with the leaven, we should also walk in the same steps of the Messiah and not walk again with the malice, the hatred, the hypocrisy, and the lust of the flesh in our lives. Therefore, let us keep the feast not with old leaven. All of this is self-explanatory. I know a lot of personal feelings get involved, okay? I remember what he did to me last year, a year before that, and yes, and all this stuff like that. It just gets to the point where nobody wins, all right? My perfect example, our perfect example is HaMashiach, the Messiah. If it's good enough for the Messiah, it's good enough for me. The personal situation that's going on in my life is that when I started out in 1992, okay, the moray that I was studying under from 1992 to 1997, okay, this guy did a whole lot of wicked things. Whole lot of wicked things. Now, there's no need for me to bring out this individual's name. But those that know me know who this person is. But the point is this, is that I forgive the brother. Okay? I forgive the brother. Because in my walk, I understand that harboring hatred, okay, jealousy and envy is not going to get me anywhere. The Messiah is our Passover. Verse 8 again. Therefore, let us keep the feast not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. This is the redemptive, or this was the redemptive role of the Messiah, and our responsibility is to walk in the footsteps of Torah, which is the Messiah, and not walk in malice, hate, and remembering what somebody did to you 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It makes absolutely no sense. It's just going to give you high blood pressure, hypertension, and all these other ailments that's talked about in the book of Devarim, the 28th chapter. We have to make sure, as much as possible, we walk this walk as tight, okay, in the order, the way that it was given to us from the beginning. Let's go to the book of Galatians. The book of Galatians, and I'm going to read the 5th chapter. Book of Galatians, the 5th chapter, and I'm going to be reading verses 6, Book of Galatians, the 15th, let me see, make sure I have this correct now. Yes, Galatians, the 5th chapter, and I'm going to start with the 19th verse. You know what? Let me just start off with the 18th verse. But if we be led of the Ruach, you are not under the law. Okay, I just wanted to bring that out there, that we are no longer under the law of sin. That's what that means, okay? Because I had an in-depth conversation with a Christian who's trying to say that the laws, statutes, and commandments are done away with. And I just wanted to bring out verse 18 one more time. But if we be led of the Ruach, you are not under the law of sin. That's what that means. But again, back to the subject. Now, the works of leaven, okay, the works of leaven, or it says here the flesh, and I'm not changing anything. What I'm just doing now is just elaborating on unleavened, or leaven. Now, the works of leaven are manifest, which are these. So let's get a clear understanding of what leaven is. Leaven is this: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresy, envyings, murderers, drunkenness, revelings, and such alike, of which I told you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not, I'm going to put special emphasis on that now, those that do such things, walking with leaven in their lives, shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. You shall not inherit it. Now, we must walk in with unleavened. But the fruit of the Spirit, which is, again, unleavened, is love, joy, peace, which is shalom. And that's like one of the hardest things for us as Israelites to do, when even learning how to dance at home before we're able to dance abroad. We have such an unforgiving spirit where it's ridiculous. We have to make sure that we practice shalom. All right? Shalom. Long-suffering. Long-suffering. Because HaMashiach done it. HaMashiach has such long-suffering for us. So why shouldn't we have long-sufferance and patience for one another? How can we say that we love the Father and the Son and hate, despise, and have bitterness towards those that we see every day? That's hypocrisy. Long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, and faith. Meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law or penalty. Okay? So there is no penalty against walking with no leaven in your life. That is the goal of us as Israelites. Okay? To walk with no leaven in our lives. Let's go back now to the book of Vayikra, the 23rd chapter. The 23rd chapter. I'm going to read verse 17 again. And you should bring out of your habitation 2 wave loaves. And these 2 wave loaves, like I brought out before, is representing northern and southern kingdom. 2/10 deals, they, which is the 2 wave loaves, shall be of fine flour. They should be baked with leaven. With leaven. And we know, okay, collectively as a community, even to this day, we, the nation of Israel, have a lot of leaven in our lives, okay, that we need to get rid of. And the importance now of the feast days is that these are rehearsals. And we want to make sure that we get it right, because there's going to come a day when the final trumpet is blown. And if the bride is not ready, she will not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. She will not. All right? Now, they should be baking with leaven. What I found interesting is the word bacon. Not bacon, B-A-C-O-N. Not the food bacon, but bacon as in a process of cooking. Okay? So we have now these 2 wave loaves being baken, okay, with leaven. Okay, with leaven. This is how we read this. The 2 loaves, which is representing northern and southern kingdom, is going to go through the fire, okay, because the baking process has to do with fire. Okay? And so we have now the 2 loaves baked in the oven, possibly an oven now, and they're going to go through the fire with the sin, because the fire is representing tribulation that the 2 houses will go through while scattered amongst the 4 corners of the earth. And to prove that, I'm going to go to the book of Yashra'al, the 30th chapter, and I'm going to read verses 20 to 21. Yashra'al, or Yashra'al, the 30th chapter, and read verses 20 to 21. Now I just want to repeat it again, all right? Make sure everybody has a clear understanding. The 2 wave loaves, again, is representing northern and southern kingdom, and the bacon is representing fire and affliction. And Israel is going to go through this fire and affliction with the leaven, okay, while they're scattered amongst the four corners of the earth. The book of Yashra'al, the 30th chapter, 20 to 21. And though Elohim give you the lacham of adversity, or the bread of adversity, and the waters of affliction, okay, that's a baking process. Okay, that's fire. Fire represents tribulation, and the waters of affliction. Yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore. Your mores, our mores, will not be moved into corners anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy mores, or your teachers, and thy ears shall hear a word behind thee saying, this is the way, which is Torah. The way is following Torah, walk you in it. When you turn to the right, and when you turn to the left. Okay, so that is very, very important, because the days are fastly approaching, and we have to make sure that we keep this rehearsal in practice. Keep it in practice, because again, these two wave loaves, northern and southern kingdom, is going to go through affliction, okay, with the leaven. But the scriptures tells us that he that endureth unto the end shall be saved. Now, let's go to the book of Zechariah. Okay, the 13th chapter. And this is an infamous scripture here. Everybody knows this. 8 to Zechariah, the 13th chapter, 8 through 9. Okay, we're talking about here now baking, okay, in affliction. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, said Elohim, 2 parts therein should be cut off and die, but the third should be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the baking process, through the fire, okay, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, okay, Yahuwah, and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Elohim is my power. So we now see the responsibility of the nation of Israel. Our responsibility now is in this walk of adversity, we're supposed to rise, because what yeast does, yeast rises. And Israel's responsibility is to rise above the occasion. This tribulation that we're going through, we're supposed to rise above it, so that we will be that perfect bride for Yahuwah and Yahushua. That's our mission. That is our role. We can't have, again, the leaven in our lives. The leaven separates us from the Father and the Son. Okay? Now, what I want to talk about next, okay? And again, if there's any question about anything that I'm saying, please hit me up with a comment. And I can definitely bring out some other scriptures to bring this into a little bit more clarity. But we have to really make sure that we understand our redemptive role, because the Messiah had a redemptive role, and we also have a role as Israelites in walking in Torah and not having leaven in our lives. Now, the different names of Shavuot in the Bible, we're going to go over that. Excuse me. Shavuot is also called the Feast of Weeks. Okay? The Feast of Weeks. All right? Now, what we want to do, like I said, we want to prove all things through the scriptures. Let's go to the book of Shavuot, the 34th chapter, the 22nd verse. The book of Shavuot, which is the book of Exodus, the 34th chapter. The 34th chapter, I'm going to read the 22nd verse. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks of the first fruits of wheat harvest. Wheat harvest. So we see now that Shavuot is associated with the word feast of weeks, and it is a wheat harvest. Passover is a barley harvest, and Shavuot is a wheat harvest. Also, what I'm going to bring to everybody's attention before I forget now is that when understanding the feast days, is that Passover is representing the Messiah. Okay, that's representing the Messiah. All the feast days are representing the Messiah now, but I just want to put special emphasis on this. Passover is representing the Messiah. He was that sacrificial lamb, okay, that was sacrificed for us, and he had no leaven. But we see now, okay, with Shavuot, that this bread is going to be baked with leaven, and these two wave loaves is representing northern and southern kingdom. There's a scripture that I forgot that just came to my mind in the book of Exodus, the book of Shavuot, the 23rd chapter, and we're going to go right back to the 34th chapter. I just want to make sure everything is nice and tight. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. The 23rd chapter. The 23rd chapter, the 18th verse. These are the instructions. It says, and you shall offer with the bread, and the bread is representing northern and southern kingdom. You shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish. These 7 lambs is representing the Messiah in its complete stage. That's all that means. Now, there was a literal killing of 7 lambs without blemish, but again, this is all alluding to the Messiah. The bread is representing northern and southern kingdom, and these 7 lambs without blemish is representing the complete redemptive role of the Messiah, because the Messiah was without blemish. Of the first year, okay, and 1 young bullock and 2 rams, they should be for burnt offering unto Elohim, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even as an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto the Father. So again, in verse 18, we see, okay, we see the unleavened representing without a blemish the Messiah, and we see the bread with leaven, okay, representing northern and southern kingdom. All right, I'm going to say that one more time to make sure I didn't get it confused. Is that the bread represents, okay, leaven. That's going to be baked. And then it's also going to be offered with 7 lambs, and the 7 lambs just represent the complete redemptive role of the Messiah without blemish. The Messiah had no leaven in him. And all of this is going to be represented or presented before the Father, who? Yahuwah. Very easy. Now, let's go back to the book of Shavuot, the 34th chapter. The 34th chapter, 22. 34, 22. And you shall observe the feast of weeks of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. So we just want to tackle here now the wheat harvest, and that the word Feast of Weeks is associated with Shavuot. Now, another scripture that I want to go to is the book of Devarim, which is the book of Deuteronomy. The 16th chapter, and I'm going to read the 10th verse. The 10th verse. And thou shalt keep the Feast of Weeks, okay, because again, the word weeks is associated with Shavuot. And thou shalt keep the Feast of Weeks, and to Elohim thy power, with a tribute of a free will offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto Elohim thy husband, according as Elohim thy power has blessed thee. Okay, I just want to bring that out. Now, the word Shavuot is also associated with the word Feast of Harvest. Feast of Harvest. Okay? Now, let's prove that. Let's go to the book of Shemot, the 23rd chapter. The 23rd chapter and the 16th verse. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is at the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. So I just wanted to bring out that the word, again, Shavuot, is also associated with the word feast of harvest. And this harvest, again, that we're talking about here, and we're talking about first fruits here, because we have a first fruits of barley, and we have a first fruits of wheat. This is a wheat harvest that we're talking about now. And let's see here. The day of first fruits is also called the day of first fruits. The day of first fruits. Okay, so these are the different names, okay, that Shavuot is associated with. Now, let's prove that. Let's go to the book of Bamidbar, which is the book of Numbers, the 28th chapter, and we're going to read the 26th day. With special emphasis now, the day of first fruits is talking about the wheat, not the barley now. The 26th verse. And, also in the day of the first fruits, when you bring a new meat offering unto Elohim, after your weeks be out, you should have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work. So the 50th day, okay, is a Shabbat. Okay, it's a Shabbat. All right, I make sure that's nice and clear. Now, we're going to continue on with the importance of Shavuot, because like I said, this festival here, this gathering here, gets little to no recognition at all. Now, other key points regarding Shavuot is that it is the only festival that doesn't have a fixed date. I'm going to read it again. It is the only festival that doesn't have a fixed date. When I say fixed date, I mean by this. As it tells us in the book of Shemot, the 12th chapter, the word Abib, A-B-I-B, or some people spell it A-V-I-V, it goes into a fixed date. And the first fixed date that we have is Abib 10. And Abib 10 is the selection of the lamb. That's a fixed date. And then the next fixed date that we have in the month of Abib is Abib, or Abib. And the word Abib is an agricultural term pertaining to the barley. Okay, and this happens during the springtime. All right. So after Abib the 10th, the next important day that we're told to observe is Abib the 14th. Okay? And this is when the lamb is killed between the two evenings. In Abib the 14th. Then after that, because this is a fixed date here. Then after that, we have Abib the 15th. And Abib the 15th explains to us, okay, the start of the festival of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And that lasts up to the 21st. Okay? And then when we get to the 7th month, let me make a little room here. These are all fixed dates. And then in the 7th month, what they call the month of Tishri. Tishri, which is the 7th month. Okay, the 7th month, we have the when the moon is sighted in the 7th month. Okay, in the 7th month, we have what we call Yom Teruah. Okay, Yom Teruah. And that happens on the first day when the moon is sighted. And Yom Teruah, it just means blowing of the trumpets. Okay, blowing of the trumpets. Then after that, we have the 10th of the same month, the 7th month. We have the 10th, which is what we call Yom. And Yom just means day. It just means day. Yom Kippur, excuse me. K-P-P-U-R. Which means the day of covering or the day of atonement. These are fixed dates. Okay? And then we have the 15th to the 21st where we have Sukkot. Okay, for the 15th to the 21st, we have the Feast of Tabernacles, which is Sukkot. And then on the 22nd day, we have what we call the Great Day. The Great Day, or some people might say Shemini Atzeret. Okay, and that gets into Yovel, okay, with the Jubilee. But we get into that a little bit later on as I try to go through all of these feast days here. All right. So those would be your fixed dates. But the counting of the Omer is not that way, okay? It doesn't have a fixed date like that. We know that it always falls on the first day of the week, and I just want to make that clear, because the day after the Shabbat would be the first day of the week, and you start to count on the first day of the week, all right? 7 times 7 is 49, and the next day will be 50. That 50th day should always fall on the first day of the week. Now, we're just about done here. And I just wanted to bring out, again, the importance of Shavuot and Torah a little bit. The Torah, or the Ketubah, was given by the Father, Yahuwah, ministered to the Son, Yahusha, given to Moshe, like I said earlier, to give into the nation of Yashra'al at Mount Sinai over 3,000 years ago. Because Shavuot is very, very important. A lot of us, not all of us now, but a lot of us don't really understand the importance of Shavuot. Okay? We're talking about a wedding. This is so, so important. I mean, I watch a lot of these TV shows out here. I think it's called Bridezilla. And we see how zealous these women are in making sure that their bridesmaids, okay, are in perfect alignment for that great day. All right? They want to make sure that everything is nice and tight. Now, what would happen if each man and woman was to take, okay, Shavuot and the rest of those festivals just as serious? Just as serious. Because we're talking about a very important event that happened on the 50th day that goes into the book of Acts, where it talks about the pouring out of the Ruach HaKodesh. And we see that same Ruach HaKodesh being poured out when the marriage happened at Mount Sinai. The same mountain that Moses saw the burning bush. The same mountain. So it's very, very important that we understand the messianic meaning behind these festivals here. They're so important, and a lot of times it seems like I'm not elaborating enough, because there's a lot of us that have a very strong zeal for this. And the way to explain every single thing in the scriptures, if anybody has a question about anything, I guarantee you it can be shown in the feast days. All of it. Guaranteed. Nothing is going to happen outside of those feast days. And we as the nation of Israel have to understand, okay, that this is all preparation for a marriage. Because we see when the first marriage happened over 3,000 years ago, when Israel came out of Egypt, all right, at Mount Sinai. All right? Now, every year on this set-apart day of Shavuot, we renew our wedding vows to the Father and His Son, which is the groom, Yahusha. Let's prove that. Let's go to the book of Devarim, the 26th chapter. Okay, the 26th chapter. And the word Devarim means words. So let's hear the words of Yahuwah. The 26th chapter, the 17th verse. And this is my favorite scripture. Thou, Yashra'al, has avouched, and the word avouch means acknowledge or to confess. Thou hast avouched the Elohim this day to be thine husband. Thy husband, all right? And to walk in his ways. His ways. So in order to walk in the Father's ways, which is explained to us in the Torah, the Ketubah, the wedding instructions, we can't have leaven in our lives. And that was the whole meaning behind the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, okay, verses 15, 16, and 17, where we see now these two lobes, because there was this bigotry and this hatred between the two nations way back in Genesis. So what we have to understand now is that we can't have leaven in our lives and still call ourselves the sons and daughters of Yahuwah. It's not going to happen. You will not inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah. Thou hast avouched Elohim this day to be thine husband, and to walk in his ways. And the operative word again that we have to make sure that we understand is his ways. So the instructions were given. Only thing that we have to do is follow Torah, because we had vouched that. We confessed that we would do it. Let me read on. And to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments, and to hearken unto his voice. His voice. Pronoun. And Elohim hath advouched thee this day to be his peculiar or special, and our Hebrew word that I like is called segula. Okay? We're a special people. So we have the marriage here. The bride okay, is saying I do, and the groom is saying I do. Both parties avouched or confessed their love for one another. That's what happened at Pentecost. Now remember, which is also important, a lot of Israelites, okay, died in the wilderness prior to getting to Mount Sinai. They didn't make it through the baking or the tribulation process because a lot of us provoked Elohim or Elohim in the wilderness and they died. Okay? They died straight up. Remember, Shavuot 15:3, the Most High is a man of war. I kill and I make alive. This is how serious this thing is becoming here. We are obligated to following the laws, statutes, and commandments, or because we confessed that we would do it. And we are the sons and daughters of those people that was at Mount Sinai. You're still obligated today, Israel. And again, let's see now what Elohim said. Elohim said that he has avouched thee this day to be his set-apart people, as he hath promised. Has promised thee, and that thou shouldest keep all his commandments. So what happens here now is that the groom sets the rules and regulations to the house, not the bride. Okay? Not the bride. The groom sets the rules and regulations on how the bride is supposed to orchestrate herself in the house. Because this is the Father's house. All right? This is the temple, and what's supposed to dwell in this temple is the Father, Elohim, or Yahuwah. All right? Verse 19. Now, if we are to keep his commandments, because there's a lot of teachings out there that's incorrect. Just because you are of the biological seed of Israel means absolutely nothing. All right? I'm going to say it again. Just because you are of the biological seed means nothing. There are terms and conditions to the marriage. You have to follow all his commandments. All of it. And if you follow the commandments, then you are the sons and daughters of Elohim, Yahuwah. That's how that works. All right? You just can't do what the hell, whatever it is that you want to do in the Father's house. And we should understand that more than anybody. That's the reason why we are now scattered amongst the four corners of the earth. Now, verse 19. And if we were to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, Elohim said that he would make us high above all nations. All nations. The 70 nations that's on the planet Earth today, the Most High said that he would make us high above all nations, which he hath made in praise. Okay, so he's going to make us better or above all nations in praise and in name and in honor, and that thou mayest be a set-apart people unto Elohim thy power, as he has spoken. Self-explanatory, okay? We must follow instructions. And what is Israel's biggest problem? We collectively, as a people, don't want to follow instructions. It always gets personal. Okay? Like the song goes. Okay? And I'm not a singer. Feelings. Nothing more than feelings. That's all that we have. There was a song out long ago. Feelings. Nothing more than feelings. And that's what we have. Nothing more than that. And I'm not saying now that your feelings aren't important. Okay? We're not saying that. Your feelings mean something. But when your feelings now begin to compromise the scriptures, now we have a problem. Okay? That's all what I'm saying. I'm not saying disregard one another's feelings. I'm not saying that. All right? Now, in the book of Devarim, the 27th chapter, the 9th verse, and Moshe, okay, and the Kohenes, the Levites, spoke unto all Israel, saying, Take heed, and hearken, O Yashra'al. this Yom, thou art become the people of Elohim thy power. What does that mean? That means now you are man and wife. Okay, because the groom said I do, the bride said I do, I now pronounce you man and wife, and this is what happened at Mount Sinai. So it's very important for us to understand the count. Because if we can't understand the count correctly, what's going to happen? The final trumpet will be blown, and you're supposed to be at a specific location, okay, for the marriage. And if your count is off, you're going to have the groom, okay, at the altar waiting for the bride, and the bride is not going to show up. So that's how important the count is. We have to know where to be at the appointed times. That's the reason why the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, is so important. We have to understand the count. For example, I was telling another good brother of mine, all right, we was talking about the manna, okay, how we ate the manna in the wilderness, okay, for 40 years, all right, teaching us how to count, all right. On the 6th day, you gather a double portion because you're not going to pick anything on the Shabbat. The Shabbat is a rest. So we practiced this count for 40 years. 40 years we practiced that count. Israel now is no longer in the wilderness. We're now in the promised land, Jerusalem, the land of Canaan. And so now the Father is going to now test us and see whether or not we remember the count that we were taught for 40 years with the manna. Okay? This is what happened. After the counting, and once we got to Jerusalem, we forgot to count. All right? We forgot to count that quick. We no longer know how to count from 1 to 7. This is how the nation of Israel count collectively. We don't say day 1, 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, Shabbat. Everything is so screwed up now where the count is so backwards where we're counting day 1, day 3, day 6, day 4, day 8, day 9. We're just so confused as a nation that it's ridiculous. Just simply all out ridiculous. But again, Israel, all right, the count is very, very important. We have to make sure that we are ready when the trumpet is blown, okay? We can't have leaven in our lives. We have to learn how to forgive, okay? We have to learn how to forgive. I've gone through a whole lot of drama in my life, okay? And I also have that spirit, and I'm still rehearsing, okay? Knowing how to just let it go, keep because there's a thing that I do in my school, it's called Kabbalat Shabbat. I have to make sure that my house, which is my body, okay, I have to make sure that there's no malice, envy, and jealousy that's in my house. I have to do that. Because again, the Father is coming back for a bride that has no leaven. Okay? I'm convinced within myself, okay, that I was there. And I said, I do. I'm personally convinced of that. Okay? And it's very important that I continue, okay, to rehearse these righteous acts. I'm not perfect. All right? But I'm going to continue, okay, to rehearse and walk this walk and continue to grow. All right? I can guarantee that. Now, what I wanted to do also was now go into a little math. Okay, make sure everything is nice and tight. You know what? Let's go to somewhere else first before that. Let's go to the book of Shemot. Okay, the book of Exodus, the 19th chapter. We're almost done here. Almost done, Yashra'al. Almost done. The 19th chapter. The 19th chapter. I'm going to start. Let's see. The first verse. Okay? The first verse. In the third month. Okay, which is very important now. We have to know when is the third month. So roughly we have Pesach, which is Passover, happening between March and April. Okay, so let's do it this way: April, May, June. So it's going to usually fall around June. So the third month is usually around June. All right. So this is the third month when the children of Yashra'al were going forth out of the land of Mizraim, the same yom or day they came into the wilderness of Sinai. Okay. So verse 2, for they were departed from Rephidim. Now, what I want to do, like I've always talked about, is very important that we don't let words slip by us. Okay, because that word Rephidim is very, very important. Very, very important. All right, we're going to go to the Strong's number 7508. Okay, 7508. 7508. And we're going to look up this word Rephidim. 7508. 7508. Rephidim is plural of the same as 7507. Okay, it has baluster, a place in the desert. So let's see if we can get some more on that. 7507. It has as spreading along, and it has bottom. Coming from the word rapad, okay, or rafad. And understanding Hebrew, now root words are very important, all right? So the root word of that would be to spread, to comfort, to refresh. That's what rafad means. Now, basically it just means the spreading or support. Now, but what I wanted to do now is look at this thing from a Hebraic messianic perspective. And what I'm going to be doing here, okay, is looking at this from the action description and understanding the Hebrew alphabet. We have the Proto-Sinaitic writing, and we have the pictographs, and we have the meaning of these words here. All right, so I just wanted to write down the word here so everybody will be able to see it. It's R-E. This is a very important word. R-E-P-H-I-D-I-M. Hope everybody can see that. And again, that's the Strong's number 7508. 7508. Okay, now let's look at this word, okay, from the action perspective, from a Hebraic messianic perspective. All right, this right here, this resh, the fa of the as in phone, it's like this. Then we have the yod. Then we have the yod. Then we have the dalet. The dalet. Then we have the yod again. And then we have the mem. It's not the sa, that's the mem, all right? So, this is how we would read this in Hebrew, okay? The resh, as we know, represents the head or the head or the beginning. Now the okay, because it doesn't have the gesh there. This is without the gesh. It means to speak a word. Speak a word. All right. The yod means he worked. he worked. Okay, the Dalet means the pathway. Okay, and the Yod means here to make, and the Mem, this represents liquid, and it also represents water in the pictograph. Okay, again, making sure that we understand the scriptures from a Hebraic perspective is extremely important. Wow, I'm not able to get everything down on the board. I'm just noticing here. But again, if there's any questions, please leave a message and I can get a lot more in detail with it. But basically, the Resh represents the head, the F, okay, as in phone, okay, represents in the action form to speak a word. The Yod, he worked. The Dalet, the pathway. This next Yod means to make, and the Mem, liquid or water. So this is how this is read. If we were to understand what Rephidim means, it means the head, which is Elohim. He spoke a word at Rephidim. He spoke a word. Okay, the Yod, he worked in the pathwork. Excuse me, in the pathway, a deed to make liquid or water. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The Resh represents the head. So we have the head, which is Elohim. He spoke a word and he worked a deed in the pathway to make water for the nation of Israel in Rephidim. And we understand now is that it was in Rephidim where Israel was given water to drink. Okay, this is where we tempted Elohim. Okay, and we were about to stone Moses, and this is where Moses struck the rock. Okay, and water came out. All right, so that's very important that we understand. Again, these words, okay, from a Hebraic perspective, and we can't just look over words. It's very important for us to understand a little Hebrew, the pictographs, and all of that good stuff there, because this is part of our culture and our nationality. This describes who we are. So that's what the word Rephidim means from a Hebraic messianic perspective. Now, we're almost done. Okay? Almost done here. Almost done. Now, let me read down just a little bit here more on the marriage, because we're still talking about here Shavuot. In the 3rd month, when the children of Yashra'al were going forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there camped before the mount, which is Mount Sinai. And Moshe went up unto Elohim, and Elohim called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Yashra'al, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. So Israel is supposed to be a set-apart people now. Now therefore, if, and the operative word again is if, there's terms in there are terms to the marriage. Okay? In order for a woman, okay, to take on the name of her husband, she has to also follow the rules and regulations. In order for her to properly attach that name to her. And that's what Israel did when, this is the reason why we see names like Yeremiyahu, Yeshayahu, okay, Mattiyahu. These names have the father's name in it. Yahusha, okay, Father saves, or Yahuwah saves. So it's very, very important, Israel, that when we call ourselves Israelites, all right, that we walk in the name or in the character of the Father. And I get into that a little bit more about the character in the name. But again, it's very important for the woman, okay, the literal woman and the nation of Israel, if she has a husband's name attached to her, that she has to walk and follow the rules and regulations of the husband, as long as he's following Torah. Okay? Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you should be a peculiar segula, okay, treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. So that's the inheritance that the Father is giving the nation of Israel. If you will follow my laws, statutes, and commandments, you will be a better woman to me than all of the other women on the planet Earth. I will set you above on high. You will be my queen. Okay? Now, verse 6. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. A kingdom of priests now, and a set apart nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Yisrael. A Yashra'al. Okay. Let's see here. I'll read verse 8. And all the people answered together in one consent now, and said, all that Elohim has spoken, we will do. I do. That's the covenant. That's the marriage agreement. We said we will do, and Moshe returned the words of the people to Elohim. Okay? And Elohim said unto Moses, or Moshe, lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud. This is going to be very, very important, all right? Because we're going to get into a little math here. We're going to get into a little math. Okay, just bear with me a little bit here, all right? I try not to have my shows go over like an hour and 20 minutes because, I mean, I understand people's attention span. And I say that not to make fun or make mock of anybody, but I understand that not everybody has a lot of patience, all right? But me personally, I like long lectures, okay? Because I'm the type of person where I don't like for somebody to just give me the answer, all right? I would like for, when I'm watching other brothers, okay, I like for them to take their time and explain every single thing in detail. I like to follow along with the scriptures so that way I'm able to examine it. And if it's good, I'll run with it. I'll add my little pieces to it, okay? But again, I just like long lectures, you know, in regards to the scriptures because I just love listening to the scriptures. I can do this all day. All right, but anyway. And all the people, verse 8, and all the people answered together and said, all that Elohim has spoken we would do. And Moshe returned the words of the people unto Elohim. And Elohim said to Moshe, lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moshe told the words of the people to Elohim. And Elohim said unto Moshe, go into the people and say unto them, today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes and be ready against the third day. So let's do the count here. We're talking about the third month. The third month, and they were to sanctify to them today and tomorrow. So right here now, at this point, we're at the 48th day, because it says to sanctify to them, because the count is 50, all right? So this is now the 50th day, the 48th day of the 50th day, and sanctify them today, the 48th day, tomorrow, which would be the 49th day, and be ready against the third day. So the third day would be the 50th day. For the third day, which is the 50th day now, which is Shavuot, Elohim will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Zion. On Mount Sinai. Okay, so he's about to come into covenant relationship with Israel. Now, this is the math that I'm going to do. Again, I like math. Math is another form of communication. Okay, it is the forgotten language. Okay, Yahuwah spoke mathematics. That's a form of, again, another form of communication. So mathematics is very, very important. So bear with me a little while. Okay, I'm just going to write down the days of the month. 30 days in each month. Okay, not 31, then 30, then 29. There's 30 days. Okay, so bear with me a little bit here. Starting from the month of Aviv, we have the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, that's 1 month. The next month, okay, this is the first month. This is the first month that's talked about in the book of Shemot, the 12th chapter. Then we have the second month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. This is the second month. Okay, I still got room. Okay. And this is the second month. Okay, remember, this is the month of Aviv right here. This is the second month, and this is the third month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We only have to take it to 10 here. All right? Now, what we have to understand now here, okay, because I've already talked about fixed dates. I already talked about that. So hopefully, we're keeping up what's going on here. Now, on the 14th, okay, is when the lamb was killed. The lamb was killed between the two evenings on the 14th. This is all alluding to the count to Shavuot. All right? Now, again, the lamb was killed on the 14th. The 15th is, okay, a high Shabbat. A high Shabbat. And the 15th, we have the Feast of Unleavened Bread happening from the 15th to the 21st. All right? Now, we also have something very important here now, because again, this is all alluding to the Messiah. If you can't explain, okay, Shavuot with the Messiah, your count is off. Simple as that. The Messiah would have to fit in the equation with your count to Shavuot. Now, we know that the Messiah gave up the Spirit on the 14th, okay, because that Passover lamb was representing the Messiah. That blood that was on the doorpost was a temporary covering for the nation of Israel. And so when the Messiah did come in the actual flesh and die for the nation of Israel, that literal blood, okay, is what redeemed us from the law. Okay, when I say redeemed us from the law, I'm talking about the death penalty, because the bride was supposed to have died for committing adultery. So, Messiah gave up the Spirit at the 9th hour, okay, at the 9th hour of the 14th, which gives us 3 o'clock p.m. And let's just play with time. I'm just playing with it now, okay? Because the sun goes down when the sun goes down. But if we had to play with figures here, just to play with figures, because understanding the watches, all right? Because there's usually either 4 watches at night or there's 3 watches at night. You can have a watch starting from 6 o'clock p.m., okay, to 9 o'clock. And then the next one will be from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. The next one will be from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And the next one would be from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. You don't need any watches during the daytime, all right? So I hope everybody understands that, all right? Now, keeping that concept just for a minute, okay, just for a minute, because I'm trying to explain something here. If the Messiah gave up the Spirit, okay, at the 9th hour, and if the watches began at 6 o'clock, for example, now just run with me a little bit, then there will only be 3 more hours left in the day before the counting of the watches. Only 3 more hours left, all right? So we see the Messiah being put in the ground, okay, with only 3 hours left on the 14th. The Messiah's in the ground all day the 15th, the 16th, and he resurrects late on the 17th, okay? Miriam comes to the tomb at the dawning of the 18th, okay? At the dawning of the 18th. It's not quite the first day of the week yet. And the Messiah clearly tells Miriam, okay, touch me not, because I have not yet ascended to my Father. All right? So, and the reason why is because that's when we're going to start the counting of waving the sheaf. We have to, counting the Omer. All right? We have to know when the count starts. And the reason why Miriam can't take hold of the Messiah, because we're not supposed to take hold of the sheaf, okay, until the priest weighs the barley before the Father. And we know that the Messiah was the firstborn, and the Messiah is that barley. That's who that is. And that happened on the 18th, which would have been the first day of the week. The 17th is the weekly Shabbat. All right, so we have the 15th, a high Shabbat, the 17th, a weekly Shabbat, and the 18th, the first day of the week. So this is where we're going to start our count. Okay, the 18th, and so we should have our first Shabbat, okay, on the 24th. The 24th should be our first Shabbat. Count 7 days later, the next Shabbat should be on the 1st. All right? The next Shabbat should be on the 8th. Okay? Because this will be the first day of the week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right? The next Shabbat should be the 15th. And I know where this is going, okay? This has nothing to do with the lunar Shabbat count, all right? I don't believe in the lunar Shabbat count. 7 is 7, all right? I already did shows on that. So this is just a coincidence, because the month prior to that, it didn't fall it didn't fall on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. Prior to that, okay, it fell on the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, the 17th, and the 24th. And the 24th. Okay, that's when the Shabbats fell in the month of Aviv. And then next, after the 15th, you have the next Shabbat falling on the 22nd. The next Shabbat we have falling on the 29th. All right? And then the next Shabbat we have on the 6th. All right? Falling on the 6th. So now, with that understanding, let's read again verses 10 and 11 in the book of Shemot, the 29th chapter. And Elohim said unto Moses, or Moshe, go into the people and say to them, today, say to them today, today and tomorrow, and also he said unto go into the people and say to them today and tomorrow, which would be now, make sure everything is nice and correct here, because the 7th here is going to be, this is the 50th day, and this is the 3rd month. With the 3rd month, I think they call this month the month of Sivan. The month of Sivan, all right? Because again, Shavuot can only fall on the first day of the week. So the scriptures has it now. Hope everybody can see. The scripture has it now in verse 10. Go into the people and say to them, today, which is the 5th, today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes. Let me read it again. And Elohim said unto Moses, go into the people and sanctify them today, which would have been the 5th, and tomorrow, which would have been the 6th, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the 3rd day, which would have been the 7th. The 7th, the first day of the week. For the 3rd day, the Elohim will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And then it talks about setting the bounds around the perimeters of the mountain. Okay, so again, Israel, this is the count. This is definitely the count. I researched it. I went over and over with it. And this is correct. Explaining how the nation of Israel came into covenant relationship with the Father and the Son at Mount Sinai, okay, after the waving of the sheaf offering, with the understanding now that we didn't wave the sheaf offering in the wilderness. We didn't do that, all right? So if we were to count from the point where we left, okay, when we left Egypt on the 15th, during the daylight hours of the 15th, then we would, if we were to count the 15th as day 1, we would have, how long did it take us then to get to Mount Sinai? It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. So it would have taken us 53 days, counting from the 15th when we physically left Egypt, to get to Mount Sinai. Okay? And with that, Israel, I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom. And again, if anybody have any questions, please leave a message. And again, I leave everybody with the Most High's peace and blessings. Again, Shalom.